Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. My name is Anna Marie Siegel, and I serve as the Associate Director of Graduate Student Services within the Office of Graduate Studies at the Columbian College of Arts and Sciences here at George Washington University. I am joined by my wonderful colleague, Liz Kepferly, who is an Assistant Director of Graduate Admissions. And together we will be telling you all about how to be a Washingtonian. Washington, D.C. is a vibrant city and one-of-a-kind place to live. We look forward to telling you all the things that we love about living in the city and excited to share with you our tips and recommendations as Liz and I have lived and worked in DC and GW for the last few years. So we're really trying to aim to give you a true inside scoop. So I will go ahead and pass it on to Liz to continue our presentation.
Thank you, Anna Marie. Hello, everyone, and welcome. This slide should give you a sense of what we're going to be covering in the coming session before finishing up with a few tips. We're going to give you a bird's eye view of the DC area transportation scene, focusing on the many different ways you can get to DC, to GW, and around the DMV or DC, Maryland, Virginia area. We're going to zoom in on the different campus locations of some of our programs because not all of them are on the main or Foggy Bottom campus. We'll talk about the various neighborhoods where many of our students choose to live or spend their free time. We'll also give you a sense of the many, many things that you can do outside the classroom, whether on campus, in DC, or further afield. And we might have a chance to talk about how and where we like to spend our free time. For example, among the many things I love about DC are the monuments and skyline, like what you see at the bottom of this slide, especially when I'm on the National Mall, which is just a few blocks from the university. But first, let's talk about how you can connect to GW when you're not yet at GW. You're already making connections by attending this event, and we hope you'll take advantage of the many other events for admitted students in the coming days or weeks or months, whether virtual or in person. In Columbian College, a primary resource for you is the CCAS Student Services team. Each program has a dedicated staff member in CCAS who serves as your student services coordinator. You can expect to hear from your coordinator in the months before you start classes. And the Student Services team also hosts virtual new student orientations, as well as various online and in-person information sessions, like workshops on resumes, interviewing, master's theses or doctoral dissertations, and also fun events like Welcome Week, ice cream socials, hot chocolate days in the winter, Graduate Student Appreciation Week, and so forth throughout the year. CCAS also hosts a private admitted students Facebook group, as you see on the screen, for each new incoming class. And it's also possible that your own program or department has a dedicated student Facebook group or uses other social media or listservs to connect students in the program to each other. So you want to check with your department about this. It's a great way to stay in contact and meet new people ahead of time. You can also reach out to the CCAS graduate student ambassadors who are current graduate students, and they're always happy to share their experiences with you. And finally, you can check the University Student Life website to get a sense of the many ways that you can connect to other students, not just those in your program. And this next slide highlights some of the interest groups that you might find appealing and want to join when you get onto campus. And we'll be repeating some of these websites later in the presentation. So there really is something for everyone at GW. You don't have to leave campus to have a full menu of events to attend, sports to watch or play, and opportunities to get involved. And this slide shows you just a few of those. As a side note, these are most accessible for students with programs on the Foggy Bottom campus, but as you will soon see, it is quite easy to move from one campus to another when you need to. Since we're in the heart of a major world capital city, it's no surprise that many of our students are interested in government as well as social and political activism, no matter what they're studying. The Nashman Center for Civic Engagement and Public Service, for example, provides opportunities to support local kindergarten through 12th grade students, homeless populations, labor movements, refugee resettlement efforts, and much, much more. The many GW students who are retired military, reserve, or otherwise former military can participate in GW veterans activities, from mutual support groups to fitness activities to commemorative events. And if you want to get moving after hours sitting in class or in front of your screen, there are intramural, team, and individual sports, classes in yoga, Zumba, weight training, swimming, etc. If your program is based on the Foggy Bottom or Mount Vernon campuses, you can use the facilities at the Lerner Health and Wellness Center. And if you want to get off campus, look into GW Trails. They plan weekend outings in the near area and longer outings over the spring or fall or winter breaks. So you can get a chance to hike or climb and return to your studies refreshed. GW also hosts plenty of events on campus that draw a crowd even from off campus. Typically, priority access to these events will go to students. There's the Textile Museum and GW Museum, which are free and open to the public, just a half a block from the University Student Center. Lisner Auditorium is a venue for many major speakers and panels. I heard Bernie Sanders speak there and Greta Thunberg, among others, fairly recently. Other events in recent years, as you see on the screen from left to right, there's late night talk show host Trevor Noah, who made a virtual appearance specifically for GW students in April 2021 at the peak of the pandemic. There is a discussion between the World Central Kitchen's celebrity chef Jose Andres with labor organizing icon Dolores Huertas in 2019. And then on the right, you see GW alumna and actress Kerry Washington, who in October 2023 came back to campus to speak about her memoir, Thicker Than Water. If you'd prefer watching people moving rather than speaking, the GW varsity sports teams attract plenty of fans to watch student athletes compete in basketball, baseball, softball, tennis, swimming, gymnastics, lacrosse, crew, and so much more. So you've got plenty of things to do on campus. But that's great. How do you get here to take advantage of all these fantastic events? Well, as a major metropolitan area, Washington is served by 3 major airports. The closest one is National Airport, DCA, also known as Reagan Airport, which is only a 10-minute metro ride from the Foggy Bottom station. You'll see a metro map in a few slides that will give you a sense of the location of all of these places that I'm mentioning here. But this is primarily for domestic flights or very short international hops within this hemisphere. A little bit further out in Virginia, but with many more options for international travel, is Dulles Airport, or IAD. The easiest public transportation option for Dulles is the Silver Line on the Metro, which goes directly from the airport to Foggy Bottom, with no transfers required. And in Maryland, you will find another large international airport, BWI, Thurgood Marshall Airport. The fastest way to get there is by train, either the MARC or the Amtrak train with an airport shuttle from there. WMATA, the metro system, has a bus from 1 or 2 of the metro stops that also provides public transportation access, but those are a little bit less frequent. So you may want to use private ride sharing like Lyft or Uber in most cases for there. A little bit more money, a little bit less hassle. And you can use those to go to or from any of these airports. All right, to get to and from DC without flying, here are a few more options. There's Amtrak, the National Rail Service. that has multiple trains running each day along the Northeast Corridor, primarily between Washington and Boston and points in between, New York, Philadelphia, Baltimore. Frequent trains, wide variety of options for travel there. They also have many trains that go south along the East Coast, including to Florida or to New Orleans. If you want to try to take the train to go west towards California, the options are a little bit fewer. The scheduling is a little trickier, but it's an interesting ride. The MARC and VRE commuter rail systems can get you to or from major nearby suburbs in Maryland or Virginia, respectively. There are also a number of private commuter bus lines that go to various outlying areas, as well as, of course, intercity buses like Greyhound, Superbolt, Superbus, or Bolt, which are affordable options, especially if you want to go to New York City. They take about as long as the train, but are often less than half the price. And then, of course, there is WMATA, the Metro Rail and Bus System, which can get you outside of the DC area, or outside of the Beltway at least, and to most locations inside of the Beltway. And there's more details on that coming right up. And please note on the right of your screen, one of my very favorite spots in DC, the Tidal Basin, which is just a short walk from the Foggy Bottom campus, and it looks beautiful in every season. All right, once you're in DC, you will find that WMATA, the Metro Rail and Metro Bus systems, is the primary public transportation resource. So the Metro Rail system runs on 6 color-coded lines, and you'll see a map shortly. 3 of those 6 lines run through Foggy Bottom. So there's a lot of access on Metro to GW. And you can go to the Metro website at any point to check what the schedule is, what the fares are, how to get from point A to point B using Metro only, Metro Rail only, Metro Bus only, or some combination. By the way, as a GW student, if you are a full-time student, you will have access to an incredible deal on Metro called the UPass system. And you see the URL for that at the bottom of the screen. We're going to give it again to you later. UPass allows you to ride the Metro Rail or bus unlimited for $100 per semester as a full-time student. So it works for the fall or the spring, not for the summer, but it is a fantastic deal if you are even an infrequent user of Metro Rail and Metro Bus. For Metro Bus, there's about 1,500 buses operating over 300 plus routes around the city. It can often take you to places where there might not be a Metro Rail stop. So it's a great way to get to places that are a little bit less accessible and complete your access to Washington, D.C. When I lived on Capitol Hill, I preferred taking the bus instead of the Metro because the Metro was underground and I liked to see the city as I moved through. So I liked to be on the streets and looking and seeing what the action was. And then there's also DC Circulator, which is also a bus, but it has only a few routes. It is about half the price of the regular Metro bus. Metro bus is $2, Circulator is $1 or sometimes free. All right, I'm going to show you a map here of the Metro system, and Anna Marie is going to come back to this when she talks about the neighborhoods and the different GW campuses. But just to give you a sense of what I've just talked about, we see Foggy Bottom there within the red circle with the arrow pointing to it, right there on the orange, silver, and blue lines. And then our 2 closest airports, DCA, National Airport or Reagan Airport, down there on the blue and yellow, and Dulles Airport, IAD, on the silver line. So both of those run directly to Foggy Bottom as well. The Union Station, which is for Amtrak and buses. And finally, the 2 endpoints of the orange and green line, which give you access to buses to go to BWI in Baltimore. All right, my final slide is for options to get around town that do not involve public transportation. Of course, you could bring your own bicycle or your own car, and we'll talk about that in a bit. But the most popular ways of getting around town are through bike and scooter sharing, as well as walking. DC is an incredibly walkable city. Most of the options that you see in the middle image are well known, easy to access, my final slide is for those people who prefer not to ride the bus or take the metro. All of these are options you'll find in many urban areas throughout the country and the world. As a caveat, some of these sharing options change from year to year, so you can always look online to see what's available when you are here. These are current to the best of our knowledge. For car sharing, most popular ones are Zipcar or Car2Go, which are affordable short-term car rentals if you need to lug a whole lot of stuff in your car and fill up your apartment when you first get to town. There is scooter sharing. These are all over the Foggy Bottom area and throughout DC. They are not typically restricted to docking stations. There's also bike sharing, and Capital Bike Share, the red bike that you see in the bottom left, there are docking stations all over DC, and GW students have access to a discounted membership in Capital Bike Share, $25 per year for unlimited short rides. It's a great deal. If you don't want to worry about the security of where you are going to park your bike or lock your bike up, you can just use a docking station for Capital Bike Share. There are plenty of marked bike lanes on the streets of DC, and there are also many beautiful dedicated bike trails along the river and through the parks. It's a great way to get around the area. I should say, please use a helmet if you're going to ride a bike or use a scooter. If you're thinking about bringing your own car or getting a car for when you come to campus, think very carefully about it. You can see the parking rates for on campus for students on the bottom right of the screen. Many of us who are working here do not use a car to come to work because there are so many public transportation options. But if you're coming in less frequently, that might be an option for you. All right, now I'm going to turn the mic over to Anna Marie to talk about the various GW campuses and area neighborhoods. Over to you, Anna Marie.
Thank you, Liz. Next, we'd like to tell you a little bit about several of our GW campuses in the areas where you can expect to be taking classes. Our primary campus is located in the Foggy Bottom neighborhood of DC. This is where most of you will be taking classes. It is in the heart of Washington, DC, and only 4 blocks away from the White House, which is really exciting. Foggy Bottom can be accessed through several of the metro lines that Liz spoke about earlier, the blue, orange, and silver line, which makes the campus really accessible to get to. Foggy Bottom has several shuttles to some of our other campuses, such as the Mount Vernon campus and the Virginia Science and Technology Center. I will talk a little bit more about the shuttles later on in the presentation. Our next campus is the Mount Vernon campus, which houses the Forensic Sciences program. It is about 3 miles northwest of the Foggy Bottom campus in a neighborhood called Georgetown. Our next campus is the Arlington Graduate Education Center, which houses the Organizational Sciences program. And to get to this campus, you will need to take either the orange or silver lines over the Potomac River into a city called Arlington, Virginia. And you will get off at the Ballston Metro stop, and the campus is only about 3 blocks away, which is about a 5 to 8 minute walk, so not too far. Our next campus is our Alexandria Graduate Education Center, which houses the art therapy and forensic psychology programs. This campus is located along the blue and yellow metro lines to a city called Alexandria, Virginia. The stop is called King Street Metro Station, and the campus is about an 8-minute walk from the metro stop. So now let's talk a little bit more about the shuttles and parking. The Vern Express shuttle runs 24/7, This shuttle can take you to the Mount Vernon campus, which once again houses the forensic sciences programs, excuse me. And the shuttle runs every 10 to 15 minutes from 23rd Street between G and H Street. This shuttle on Saturdays also provides trips to a local Safeway grocery store. So if you choose to live in the Foggy Bottom neighborhood, you can use this service on Saturdays as well. Another shuttle provided to you is to the Virginia Science and Technology Center, which takes about 45 minutes to a city called Ashburn, Virginia. You're able to use these shuttles to your advantage to all these locations, whether you take classes there or not. We have several people who live in the city of Ashburn because it is cheaper and outside of the city and use the shuttle to get to campus. So you can do that as well if you choose that option. So be thinking about these things as you think about places to live. Liz mentioned earlier the parking rates. And there are plenty of cases where you might find it easier for you to drive to campus. But most of our students really opt for the public transportation that we have shared with you today. Now let's talk about the different neighborhoods in the DC area. It is important to keep in mind that Foggy Bottom campus housing is primarily reserved for undergraduate students. So you want to familiarize yourself with the different neighborhoods in the area. This is not a comprehensive list, but this is just a few of the neighborhoods that most of our students live in. And these are not only places to live, but also places to work or enjoy your free time. What we'd like to do now is show you where these neighborhoods are located on the Metro map so you can see it in relation to the Foggy Bottom campus and various other Metro stops. So once again, the stars indicate all of the accessible points to the airports that Liz spoke about earlier. And the first neighborhood we'll like to talk about is Foggy Bottom, which is once again where our main campus is located. Foggy Bottom has several apartment complexes that are within walking distance of the campus. And when doing your research on any of these neighborhoods, you should be really asking about the student rates that the complexes may have available for you. The next neighborhood we will discuss is Georgetown, which is adjacent to Foggy Bottom, which is where the Mount Vernon campus is located, which houses, once again, the forensic sciences programs. There is no Metro stop here, but you can use the DC circulator, and it is also easy to walk or bike from the Foggy Bottom campus. Georgetown also has a number of restaurants and shops and a beautiful waterfront. Although you can take the Vern Express to Mount Vernon, that is still a ways from the shopping and restaurant area. So if you are wanting to shop or eat, it is best you take the circulator, walk, or bike from Foggy Bottom. Please note that Georgetown is a more upscale and expensive neighborhood. Our next neighborhood is Ballston. So looking at the map, you'll see a few stops next to Ballston: Virginia Square, Clarendon, Courthouse, and Roslyn. So that on the orange and silver line is very popular for our students to live in. If you want to live in an urban, walkable area, that is that area. It gets a little bit more suburban past the Virginia Square stop. This is also the business hub, where a number of companies like Deloitte and Booz Allen Hamilton are located. So many of our students have internships in that area. Next neighborhood we'll talk about is Alexandria, where our art therapy and forensic psychology programs are located. Alexandria is off of the blue and yellow lines on the Metro, and it is such a wonderful city that is quaint and historic with a beautiful waterfront and cobblestone streets in Old Town. We really recommend Alexandria, especially for those who are in art therapy and forensic psychology. Looking further north of Alexandria, you can see Crystal City and Pentagon City stops. And those areas also have high-rise apartments. There's also a lot of inventory there and convenient for you to just take the blue line to Foggy Bottom. This is also the area that is close to the National Reagan Airport. Next, we'll talk about DuPont Circle, which is a little north of Foggy Bottom. This area is where all the embassies are located in what we call Embassy Row, where you can walk around and view beautiful grand architecture. The next area is Columbia Heights and U Street. U Street is very happening and bustling with their nightlife opportunities. And Columbia Heights offers a lot of modern conveniences like Target and Bed Bath & Beyond. Here you'll see a picture of Ben's Chili Bowls. That is a DC institution, which we hope you will check out. Our next neighborhood is Capitol Hill, which is where I live and absolutely love it. So if you hear people say that they're talking about working on the Hill, they're referring to Capitol Hill. And if you're interested in an internship in Capitol Hill, this might be the area you would be interested in working in living in. Capitol Hill is exactly on the same 3 lines as Foggy Bottom, the blue, orange, and silver. And part of what I love about living in the neighborhood is because of the Eastern Market Stop, where there is an outdoor market on weekends, a nice food hall, and great restaurants. A little further down is another neighborhood called 8th Street Corridor, which is a newly developed area with a number of restaurants. And a little bit further down are 2 great food halls called Union Station and La Cosecha, which has a number of Latin and Central American food and art vendors. Going further south of this area, our last neighborhood we'll talk about is Waterfront and Navy Yard. This area is newly developed area with luxury apartments. If you're interested in super nice amenities, this might be the area for you. This area is also where the national baseball team plays. So during games, that area is very much alive. It is also a nice area because of the waterfront and nice walking trails along the water. As we mentioned, this list is not exhaustive, but we wanted to give you areas we know our students live in. We didn't discuss a lot of areas on the red line, but those are also good options to look at. Some of the most affordable areas on the red line is Silver Spring, Glenmont, or Wheaton Stops. So now that we've talked about all the neighborhoods, we want to give you some of the resources GW has to offer. We have a great off-campus housing website, which includes apartment listings, as well as a roommate finder option. The Guide to Living Off-Campus also has more information about these neighborhoods and a lot more. And also, here are some suggestions for online tools for searching for apartments. We really encourage you to join the Admitted Student Facebook page. There's a lot of discussion on that page about students looking for roommates and trying to connect with other students from their programs. And we have heard this is where students have found their housing in previous years. We also want you to consider some of the pros and cons, how close you want to live to campus, how much of a commute you want, what your budget is, what's really important to you. Do you want to have a car? Do you not? So be thinking about those things as you are researching your housing. Now that you have found housing, let's talk about the great things that you're able to do here. These are just some examples that we'd like to share with you, and I'll give you some of my favorites. The National Mall is a fantastic place to walk to with a great view of the monuments. You can go out there and on a study break, it is within walking distance of campus, and enjoy a really nice picnic. We definitely recommend going out to the National Mall at night, which is a beautiful sight as the monuments are lit up. Kennedy Center is a renowned performing arts center. It is within walking distance of Foggy Bottom, and there is also a shuttle from the Foggy Bottom Metro stop. They not only have theater and performances, but they also have comedians. And the center also has free shows a few evenings a week. The cherry blossom, which is blooming now at the tidal basin, a beautiful sight to see, as Liz mentioned earlier. And so take advantage of that as it is within walking distance of campus. Another of my favorite is Around the World Embassy Tour, where all the embassies open up their doors and put on different cultural exhibits and performances and food offerings as well. GW provides you with the great location of being in DC because it has GW provides you with a great location of being in DC because this area is full of smart, passionate, and interesting people from all over the world. For me, as someone who speaks several languages, it is always exciting to walk around and hear several languages as I'm exploring the city. The next great aspect of this area is the location. It is 2 hours from beaches and 2 hours from mountains and really close to some great cities such as New York or Philadelphia. And lastly, a great location for professional opportunities for great internships and work options. That concludes our presentation today. Thank you for joining us. If you have any questions, here are a list of resources that you can reach out to. And thank you. We look forward to seeing you on campus.